do you say this name before I start? Duriel?
Unduril, Flame of the West.
I'm still going to say it wrong. Edril.
Unduril.
Undriel.
Unduril.
I'm not accenting it. It doesn't work. Welcome back, guys. We are almost done with our Lord of the Rings Tales from Middle-earth set review. We are here for colorless, and last up is multicolor. So if you guys missed our introduction or all of the colors where we go through white through green, give them ratings between 1 through 5 from a limited perspective, make sure you guys go check those out. Thank you guys so much for being here for our set review. Yanks, welcome back.
Good to be here. So we take a look at some of the cool swords and artifacts we got here.
Yeah, and this art is really sweet. So we're going to jump right in with Undriel, Flame of the West, 3 mana for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +3/+1 whenever equipped creature attacks. Create 2 tapped 1/1 white spirit creature tokens with flying. If that creature is a legendary, instead create 2 of those tokens that are tapped and attacking. Okay, so a little bit more aggressive if you attack with a legendary creature. That's pretty cool. And they're flying, so you don't have to really worry about them getting eaten.
Yeah, it's great. Cheap equip cost, not too expensive to play in the first place. Anything that makes flyers is pretty good, and then you can attach this to one of the flyers and keep making more flyers.
Yeah, and the nice thing about this card,
I guess not. Yeah. Sorry, you can keep making them. They just wouldn't be attacking because they wouldn't be legendary.
Yes, and the nice thing is that it doesn't really have any sort of huge punishment if you're doing a non-legendary. A lot of these have, equip 7 unless it's a legendary, equip 3, or only make the flyers if it's legendary. But this doesn't really have that. The upside for it being legendary is good, but it's not like make or break for this card. I'm happy to rate it without that second chunk of clause where it's like they're attacking if it's a legendary. And I think it's very, very good and playable either way. So for me, this card is just a 4. You do need it to stick on a creature, but once you do, it sort of, enables itself and gives you more bodies to use for the cause. So this is certainly going to win a game if you can stick a creature for long enough to activate it.
Yeah, I've got it as a 4 as well. I'm trying to think the Anduril is Aragorn's sword. And I'm guessing the flavor on this, making spirits, is that it was a reforged sword from the shards of Narsil, which is the one that cut the ring off of Sauron's hand. And the whole thing is referred to as the blade that was broken, remade whole. So I'm guessing it's supposed to be like the spirits of the past. Or the spirits.
Maybe. Well, there's also the iconic scene where he is charging out of the den with all the spirits with him.
Yep.
And the sword is very prominent in his hands there, right?
Yep, and it was the blade he used to block the attack from the Ghost King.
So, and then they fought with him. So in the movie, he's attacking with this sword, and it's sort of pooping out spirits. So it could, as opposed to being what it's made out of.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's probably better.
Could just be a little flavor signing there. So yeah, rating wise, it's a 4. We got a good equipment, which I always like to see. Next, we have Barrow Blade, 1 mana for a 1/1. 1 mana for a +1/+1. Whenever a equipped creature blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, that creature loses all abilities until end of turn. Equip 1. This seems more sideboardy to me. That said, 1/1 for 1 with a 1 equip is reasonable and playable if you have the room, but I'm not looking to play this card.
Yeah, I think this card will end up being pretty good, especially in Boros, where you can turn 1/1s into actual threats and 2/2s, or put it on a flyer. It's anytime you get equipment that's this cheap to keep moving around, I always want to pay a little extra attention to it.
Yeah, there's also the rare that gets first strike when it's equipped and stuff like that. I certainly think it's going to be playable in any deck. I agree. In exactly Boros, it'll have some upside, but in the average deck, I'm just going to give it a 2.
Yeah, I think that's fine. It'll be a little higher in Boros, yeah.
All right. I will let you do this one.
Mtgnerdgirl Basin, 2 mana artifact. And you can pay X and tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on target creature with power X. Activate only as a sorcery.
So it gets harder to put counters on things as the creature is bigger.
Yep.
If you have a lot of armies of like 1/1s, 2/2s, things like that, then you just get to spread the love out and keep getting a bigger army. It's kind of nice. It's awfully slow for my taste. I don't think I'm excited about this card.
Yeah, it offers some inevitability. It's a mana sink, but it's only at sorcery speed, which isn't great. So yeah, I'm not in love with it, but I'd probably play it.
I mean, everything these days seems playable.
Yeah,
so to me,
true.
this is like a 2.
Yeah, I think it's like a 2. I could definitely see if the games get long enough in this set, I could see this being higher.
I don't like it as much in long games as I'm thinking in the decks that make 1/1 spirits. Cheaply
Fair.
turning each of those into 2/2 spirits is a game changer. But like the rest of it, kind of whatever. If your deck has like a solid curve, you're going to be less interested in this, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think flavor-wise, it's aiming at obviously small creatures because the Ents obviously are giant tree folk, but the only time you really saw the Ent drop be consumed was by the hobbits, which turned them into the biggest hobbits in the Shire. So
I did not remember that.
Merry and Pippin.
All right, next one is another legendary artifact equipment, Glamdring. 2 mana for equipped creature, has first strike and gets +1/+0 for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Wow, that's very specific to one of the archetypes here in this format. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost, equip 3. Huh. Seems pretty cool. It gets first strike automatically, so even if you have 0, like you're still getting a thing. It's a little expensive, but if you're getting +2/+0 and first strike, those are decent stats, even if you don't have a ton of instants and sorceries in your hand to play those with for the second clause. Yeah. I still think this is pretty solid.
It's nice that the second clause kind of feeds into the first.
Yeah. I feel like that's more of a constructed thing, though. Like, it will be relevant, but not super, like, relevant. Like, your instants and sorceries, like, maybe you hit it, but, like, I don't want to use my removal spell right now, so...
Yeah.
So, a lot, like, if you have draw spells and stuff, I think that would be really cute and a cheeky way to get them out cheap and still progress your board. That'll be busted. But if you're looking at removal spells and things like that, then you're going to be less excited. And most likely, if you're triggering a 3 or 4 mana draw spell card, you've probably been so far into the game where you have already used those cards anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is looking at, right, this is clearly aimed at blue-red, so you're thinking you're talking about a deck with a bigger or higher density of instant sorceries to begin with.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, a huge chunk of them you don't necessarily want to use right away.
No, but it also does enable you, on the times you do, it may enable you to double spell on a turn where you couldn't otherwise.
Absolutely. I just think that the second clause is more relevant for constructed by a pretty large margin. So I'm expecting it to not get a ton of value, even in the decks where it, like, does synergize well with. I still have a good ratio of creatures to spells, and a good chunk of those creatures are not things I want to be casting anytime I hit, basically. So they're a little bit more time sensitive, as it were. So I don't really care about that second clause as much. Obviously, it's a big bonus, and you will get some value out of it sometimes, but I like rating the card a little bit closer to what the initial ability is.
Yeah, I guess I think it's going to have more of an impact than you do, but
what do you think the rating is?
I think it's like a 3.
Oh, see, I'm actually like kind of higher on it. I think it's like a 3 to a 3.5. I worry that middle to end clause feels a lot stronger than it will be. So yeah, we're right in the same spot. It's just, to me, it reads like it wants to be a 4, but it just really isn't to me.
Agreed. I just am always very hesitant on equip 3 or more.
I agree with that. And then that's why I think that middle clause should be stronger. So it sounds like we're both like in the same spot. The only difference is that, like, I'm coming from this isn't as good as it should be, and you're coming from this card is good from the bottom, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Horn of Gondor, 3 mana for a legendary artifact. When it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human soldier token. Pay 3, tap, create X white human soldier tokens, where X is the number of humans you control. Huh. Okay.
This says answer me. This says kill me, answer me, or you die.
It does, because you make 1, 2, 4, you're dead.
Yeah. If you have no other humans.
Yes.
Like.
Yeah. And it's not even like turn 3 do nothing, right? Like you get a 1/1, which is not like a thing. It's not like a, great rate or anything. But that's some crazy good inevitability and also hard to remove, like built-in artifact removal, especially in a best of 1 world as we have on Arena. That's going to be tough to deal with. So you got to run them over quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card is at least a 4.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a 4. If left to do its own thing, it's going to be a slow going, but if it left to do its thing, it's going to win the game. And heaven help you if you're in white. Like, this should be at least like 2 in a white, I think, like
sure.
to activate, to make it at least specific to a thing, but this goes in any deck. It's just a straight up win condition in any deck. You open this in pack 3 and it's just like magical Christmas Moneyland all day.
Yeah, because there are, I believe, at least, I'm scanning quickly, humans in every color.
Yes. But this doesn't feel fair that they're taking white's win condition and just giving it to everybody.
Yeah.
Like, is there an artifact that says pay 3, draw a card that you can use in any color other than blue? Because I don't think so.
That's coming. I'm sure that's coming soon.
All right. Yeah, we agree on a 4. Horn of the Mark, 2 mana, legendary artifact. Whenever 2 or more creatures you control attack a player, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them. Put that into your hand. Put the rest onto the bottom in a random order. Man, all of these artifacts are good. What is going on, Lord of the Rings? I'm used to like all good cards in the set, and then these are all poopy artifacts and not really super relevant, like a weird mirror and a weird, workshop, assembler that like, okay, whatever. But these are all solid. Yeah, so 2 mana. Whenever you attack with 2 or more things, dig a creature out. That's insane value.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Put this in a Boros player's hands, and again, we're back to magical Christmas land.
Yeah.
You're dead. There's no running out of gas. Top 5 cards? Are you kidding? Get out of here. Oh my gosh. And you don't even punish him by making him wait until turn 5. Oy. Okay, well, this is very good. I mean, it's a little, it doesn't do anything the turn it comes into play, but for only 2 mana, I'm fine with that. Is this just like a 4?
Yeah, I think it is.
Holy smokes.
Requires no more investment after this. It's not hard to attack with 2 things. Like, yeah, it's just a 4.
You attack with 2 things 3 times, you've gone through your entire deck and you've gotten your bomb. That's it. Like, you've cycled through 15 cards of your library, and you're already 7 cards from the draw, an additional 3 or 4 cards from your turns, and now you've gone through the whole deck.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It doesn't even make you have to find it. Wow. Inheritance Envelope, 3 mana for an artifact. When Inheritance Envelope enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you. And you may add 1 mana of any color. Well, this is just going to be like kind of a commander staple. That's pretty cute. It's just 3 mana rock that does a thing. That's neat. It's going to be very good if you're trying to splash some like multicolor cards. And if you want ring temps, this is a good include. If you have some expensive treants, this is a good include. I don't see anything wrong with this at all. Let me see. Do I have it? Yeah, I have it right here. So the first ring tempt, the ring bearer is a legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. So it's just like, even if you don't have anything too crazy as far as ring bearing synergies go, I think this is fine. Because that's just a good ability to throw on something, regardless of if you have any other stuff. Cool.
Yeah, and what I've always thought Commander needed was more uninteractable things in the command zone. Like putting the ring into every deck, that's going to be fantastic.
Pooper of parties. I'm gonna get you one of those little party hats. and it's just gonna say pooper.
So I can celebrate when Commander dies?
You're our biggest freaking patron for my Commander show, Yanks. I'm getting some very mixed signals.
Yeah, that's true. You are.
You are.
No, I mean, you're getting mixed signals.
Yeah, this is like a 2/5, good for fixing, good for ramping. Some decks won't have any use for it, but I think there's nothing wrong with including some ramp.
No, especially since we didn't see a ton of fixing otherwise, and there's not like a common dual end cycle or anything like that. So
next up, we have Hot Pockets. 2 mana. 2 mana for we actually weren't.
I know.
If you guys missed my Commander Show co-host Veggie Wagon's card review, this was his card preview, Limba Spread, and the video is insane. If you guys go check it out on like TikTok, Instagram, his YouTube, whatever, it's so funny. It's a Lord of the Rings parody, and he actually like reenacts one of the scenes of Lord of the Rings, and it's so good. So make sure you guys check it out. It's very funny.
I haven't seen it yet, but was it the scene with the look, Limba Spread? And more Limba Spread.
No, it's the scene where the guy's like gorging himself on food, and he makes the Hobbit sing the sad song when all of his troops are going in to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Denethor, yeah.
It's very, very good. So Limba Spread says when Lembas enters the battlefield, scry 1 and draw. Great. Sacrifice it. Gain 3 life. When it's put into a graveyard, into the battlefield, its owner shuffles it into their library. Okay. It replaces itself and enables your scries and enables your foodstuffs. So this is a fine card that synergizes with a lot of what the set's trying to do. It's certainly going to be playable. By itself, does it pack a punch? No, but it's going to see some play. I think this is a 2.
Yeah, I think it's a 2. Keep an eye out for things that want you to sacrifice permanents. You get the free to sacrifice this. It does count as a food for food synergies.
And scry synergies, and it replaces and draw 2 synergies. Yeah. Like it enables half the damn archetypes.
Yeah, sure.
Mirror of Glamdring, 2 mana for a legendary artifact. 5 mana tap, scry 1, then draw. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each legendary creature you control, which is not going to be hard. This is basically guaranteed to cost 4, because you're going to have a ring bearer.
Yes.
Scry 1, draw for 2 mana. This is actually very good. I think this is a fine card to play.
Yeah, I think it's probably like a 3.
Yeah. I think the format's going to be is slow, so I think that this actually might be some premium card draw, like in the long game. So, and I think there's a lot of legendary creatures, so I'm going to bump it a little bit. I think this is a 3/5. I usually give like the premium divination a 3, so I think this is going to be a little bit better than that.
Yeah, if the format ends up being slow enough, it'll definitely be higher ranked.
And you're just scarred from the last 2 sets.
Scarred from the last like 3 years worth of sets where just being on the play meant you win.
Mithril Coat, 3 mana for an artifact equipment with flash and indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to target legendary creature you control. Equipped creature is indestructible. So flash indestructible for your legendary permanents, and you can also just equip it to something else that can give it indestructible as well throughout the game. So playable, but equip 3, you got to have some things that are worth protecting for big investments. I do like that it just like mitigates removal spell the first time for 3 mana if you have, solid legendary creatures to protect.
Absolutely. The fact that this has flash is kind of some way funny flavor too, right? Because nobody knew Frodo had the mithril coat. When he got stabbed, they figured he was going to be dying. So it's like, surprise, I'm still alive.
That's true. I actually didn't even make the connection. Like, I remember that scene, but like, I didn't. Yeah, I need to watch through the movies again. I should do that. It's been a while. When I was younger, I used to watch them like once a year, but I don't think I've seen any of them in the last like 10 years now.
Yeah, it's been a couple years for me, but not quite that long.
Chat in the comments down below. Let me know when was the last time you watched the Lord of the Rings set all the way through. Not all in one sitting or whatever, but like when was the last time you really gave it a good watch through? Like I said, it was a lot when I was young, but I kind of stopped not wanting to invest the time in it as I got older because it's a long time. So I should do a good watch party. Rating wise, what do we think on this card? I think it's a little more situational. I'm gonna give it like a 3. It's a little expensive.
Yeah, I think I give it a 2.5.
Yeah, I'm hesitant on there. I think I want to give it a 2.5 as well.
Yeah.
The One Ring, 4 mana for a legendary artifact. It is indestructible. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until end of turn. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the ring. Tap, put a burden counter on the One Ring, then draw a card for each burden counter on the ring.
I mean, card's pretty nutty.
Yeah, but it is... it does have some pretty significant drawbacks, right? Each time you tap it to draw, you have to put the thing on it, and each time you are going to take more damage. So you draw 1, you take nothing. On your next turn, you take 1, and then you choose to draw 2, and the next time you take 2, and then you don't tap it because you don't want to start taking 3, but you're taking 2 now from ever. So, like, I agree it's nutty, but, like, I don't think it's that nutty. I think, well, there's a lot of food tokens.
And a lot of food to gain some life back. I mean, the ETB effect is not nothing, right? Protection from everything.
It doesn't have flash, though.
That's true.
Until the end of your next turn. So it's just like 1 turn. If it had flash, I would like it better, but it is...
Also, it feels like a serious flavor fail that this says indestructible. It was literally destroyed. Like,
I think the idea is that it's indestructible with the exception of Mount Doom.
Yeah.
So like they could not destroy it in any other way. So like that makes sense to me.
No, I know. It's just it just feels funny on the card. But you're right. It was completely indestructible otherwise.
There should be I agree with Boofy. There should be a land called Mount Doom that says you may destroy target indestructible legendary creature or legendary card.
It doesn't do that. There is a Mount Doom land card though.
It should be the thing that destroys this indestructible artifact.
Yeah.
That's a flavor fail.
It's actually a pretty good flavor wise. We'll see when we get there.
I'm not as high on this card as I have been on the other card draw. Like that clock to me seems pretty scary. Like you draw 1 card, not great. You draw 2 cards. Now for 3 cards, you are now taking 2 points of damage every turn for the rest of the game, and you don't get to draw anymore. Like to me, that's not a great rate.
Yeah. It does add up. I guess the idea being if you draw enough cards quickly enough, you're going to end the game fast enough.
And that's assuming by turn 4 you have the life to spare to do that for like a 4-turn clock.
Yeah, we'll have to see on the speed of the format. I think you're right. The food tokens will be key to help mitigate this.
But if you don't have them, like if you're in Rakdos Sacrifice or something, like what are you going to do? I think there's better card draw with less risk.
Yeah, there is certainly ones with less risk. There's nothing that's like as powerful probably as this though.
Now, if you got to tap it, put a burden counter, and you draw cards based on the burden counter, and each upkeep you drew that many extra cards based on the burden counter, the idea that you can't keep drawing unless you add the burden counters each time you draw a 3rd time, you've now drawn 6 cards, but you're taking 3 each turn. Like that ends games real freaking quick.
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
know. I don't think this card is great. To me, this seems like even money in the pot. Like sometimes it'll win you the game, and sometimes it's just going to straight lose you the game. This is not my jam. That said, I still think it's playable, but I'm going to give it like a 3. This feels way more constructed-y to me.
Yeah, I think it's probably... I'd probably say a 3.5.
Yeah. I do like that it has a drawback. I was a little
which-
sad that the ring tempts you didn't have a drawback, because every time someone got tempted by the ring, some bad shit happened to them. So like, I'm glad that we saw at least one ring drawback for the flavor.
Yeah, and it's good flavor, right? The more often you use it, the more damaging it is.
I agree with that. Yeah, it's very good. Okay, you're up.
Palantír of Orthanc, a 3-mana legendary artifact. At the beginning of your end step, put an influence counter on Palantír of Orthanc and scry 2. Then target opponent may have you draw a card. If that player doesn't, you mill X, where X is the number of influence counters on Palantír, and that player loses life equal to the total mana value of those cards. That seems pretty terrifying.
Yeah, you get to scry, and then you top one, and then you say, hey, would you like to let me draw this one? And they say no, and you're like, okay, well, then I'm going to mill.
Yep. So first one, you're only milling one card, but pretty soon this adds up, and how often can you risk taking that much damage, especially when you get to set up the top of your library?
Yeah. My question is who has more life? If you have a high mana cost deck, then this is a home run. If you're in Boros,
yeah,
you might just mill out before they take. Yeah, before they take enough damage, right?
Yeah, although you would hope in Boros you're doing enough damage to them that they don't have to take that much.
Yeah, ideally, but
yeah.
It is an interesting card in limited. Yeah. In constructed, no doubt about it, bonkers does the thing it wants to do. In limited, it's just like, oh, mill 6, you take 4? Like, oops. I could see that being a thing where it's just like land, 2-drop land or something, and you're like, oh, that's a significant chunk of my remaining 20 cards.
Yeah.
And they just eat a food to mitigate it. Oh, it's going to hurt. I'm going to kill myself with this card for sure. If I mill myself out, do I still get a cookie?
That's up to the cookie arbiter, which I believe is you, so.
All right, guys, this card seems really cool. I'm into it. It's a little complicated and slow, but it's going to be some really good value and some inevitability for you. And if your deck has like a good CMC, if you're green, or even Dimir had some 5 mana baddies. If you're basically anything but Boros, I think that this is just a home run. You're gonna get some really good card advantage, or just make them kill themselves on accident on turn 4 with this thing. So great. Rating wise, what do you think, Yanks?
I think it's a 4.
It's a little slow for me to call it a 4, but I feel like it does win games if left to do its thing. So, yeah, if this were a normal set, I would give this a 3-5, but I think because we're in a slow set with not a lot of power, this will be a 4.
Sure.
The Vial of Glamdring, 3 mana for a legendary artifact. If you would draw a card while you have no cards in hand, draw 2 cards instead. If you would gain life while you have 5 or less life, you gain twice that much life instead, and it adds a mana. So, okay, gives you a little bit of a bonus for your food if you can, play it close. If you get Hellbent, it's really good. It's a mana dork that fixes. This card is awesome. It ramps, fixes, and just gives you some pretty nifty static abilities in limited. Being Hellbent is not uncommon.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're mostly treating this as a mana dork because the other abilities are unreliable, but they're just, or not mana dork, a mana rock, but it's kind of free bonus, and it's not that hard to hit at least one of them.
I'm willing to go a little bit higher on the first clause because this set seems so long and grindy. I think being Hellbent is not unreasonable.
Sure.
So I think I will give it a half-point bonus for that, because I think that you play this and you're going to get to do the thing on that first clause enough for me to give it to be happy to give it a boost.
That's
so
fair.
Rating wise, I think this is a solid 3.
Yeah, I've got it as a 3.
Awesome. Shire Scarecrow, 2 mana for an 0/3 with Defender. Pay 1, add a mana of any color, activate only once each turn. So it's just like a dopey mana fixer. If you need the fixing, sure, if you're being greedy with your mana base. And it's a good sideboard card if you are up against some Boros aggro decks.
Yeah, or even Selesnya is going to have a lot of small creatures with the halflings and
yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like this should generate food in some way because it's a scarecrow, so it's like protecting your crops. I feel like this should poop out a food every for doing a thing or something. I feel like you should be able to dump mana into it to make a food.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. And even then, it wouldn't be very exciting. Like
no.
This is not an exciting card, regardless. So, whatever. I think this is like a 1/5. You want it if you need some fixing. Maybe you board it in.
Exactly. Yep.
Sting the Glinting Dagger, 2 mana for legendary equipment. Equipped creature has +1/+1 and has haste. At the beginning of each combat, untap equipped creature. Equipped creature has first strike as long as it's blocking or being blocked by a goblin or an orc. That seems fantastic.
Yeah. Cheap casting cost, cheap equip cost.
Good abilities.
All of them.
Yeah.
First strike against the goblin or orc is flavorful, right? Sting glowed blue whenever they were near. So, you get to spot them first, so you get first strike.
Yep. And it's also got a good like racing ability, right? Untaps itself, makes combat real difficult for your opponents, especially if you're like putting it on a flyer or something. This card seems awesome. I think this is a 3/5. I'm hesitant to give it a 4 just because our 4s have been like kind of game ending. But
yeah, it doesn't quite. It's efficient, but it doesn't quite do enough to be a 4.
Stone of the Erie.
I'm not sure. I think it's Eric.
I'm
not sure.
Stone of the Eric. Sure. 1 mana for if a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. 2 mana, tap, sacrifice the stone, exile target player's graveyard, draw a card. I don't know how much graveyard synergy there is in this set. Like, there's no flashback. Like, how relevant is this destroy their thing, their exile?
I don't think it's very relevant. I think this is just a sideboard card.
Okay, sideboard card it is.
Constructed sideboard card.
If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Yeah, I mean, there's some recursion. So, like, sideboard for Golgari. And the nice thing is that, like, if you play it late, you still get that benefit. If you play it early, it just exiles them right out of the gate, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, agreed.
I like that. So you don't feel like you have to activate it and then not get the future benefits. Wizard's Rocket, 1 mana for an artifact. Wizard's Rocket enters the battlefield tapped. Tap, sacrifice Wizard's Rocket, add X mana of any color combination. When Wizard's Rocket is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. Okay. Interesting little mana sink. Huh.
Yeah, just it lets you filter if you need to.
If it replaces itself.
Yeah, and if you have other things that sacrifice, you can just feed this to it to replace itself.
Yeah. I'm not in love with it. I think it's a good filler card. It doesn't ramp you in any way, so it's fixing. Draw 2 cards per turn. It'll trigger that.
Yep.
That's certainly an archetype. So yeah, I think this is an okay filling card. Let's go ahead and give it a 2.
Yeah, I think it's 2.
All right, that is it for our artifacts. Let's go ahead and move on to our lands. I'll let you say this because I'm sure it's said fancy.
Barad-dûr.
Barad-dûr, sure. Go ahead.
Barad-dûr enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. There's a whole cycle of these that all enter tapped unless you have a legendary creature. Tap it to add black, and then pay XX black to amass Orcs X. Activate only if a creature died this turn.
Okay.
I mean, just a recurring source of creatures if you have things that are dying. Like, that seems pretty good on a land.
And it's
expensive.
It's a little expensive, but it's just on a land. And it doesn't say sorcery speed, which is super dope. I think this is fantastic.
Yep. If a creature died this turn, not your turn, so you can use it on your opponent's turn.
I'm okay with a three mana sink that poops out a 1/1 every turn. Like we see that all the time on legendary lands. It's 2 colorless and a white to make a 1/1 soldier. Like that is a fine rate.
Yep.
And you get to do it in black.
Yeah, I think this card's great. A color that's very often going to be thrilled to have a 1/1 to sacrifice,
and very thrilled to have like things to do at instant speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you want to hold open your mana in blue and black a lot anyway. So great, now you just get benefits for doing it. Okay, cool. Rating wise, I think that this is a 3/5.
Yeah, I've got it as a 3/5. It's a little too pricey to be a 4 for me.
Great Hall of the Citadel. Tap for colorless, pay 1 and tap, add 2 mana in any color combination. Spend this mana to cast legendaries. So this helps you splash legendary cards, which is really nice. You can get a nice little bonus there. It filters. It doesn't punish you for filtering, so that's good. I think there's a lot of decks that are just not going to want to run this, but if you have a 3-color deck that's high on legendaries, sure. I just feel like a 2.
Yeah, there's so much legendary stuff in this set that it's almost feels kind of free to play a colorless land that can tap for color mana for your legendaries. So yeah, I think it's a 2, but there are a lot of decks where you will actively want this card.
Yeah, I agree with that. The Grey Havens, legendary land. When Grey Havens enters the battlefield, scry 1, add a colorless, tap, add 1 mana of any color among legendary creatures in your graveyard. Super specific, but I mean, in a lot of my just straight up 2-color decks, I'm fine with a colorless mana that scries when it ETBs.
Yep, absolutely.
Like, sure. And if you have a 3-color deck, this is actually not great unless you are having a high quantity of legendary creatures, right?
Yeah, it's not going to be easy to activate your splash off of this.
Yeah.
Because you likely only have 1 or 2 splash cards, so they're probably not in your graveyard.
So I'm really only looking to play this for the scry in a non-greedy deck, so I'm just going to give it a 2.
Yeah, I like it as a 2.
Minas Tirith, a legendary land, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature, adds a colorless, pay 2, draw a card, activate only if you attacked with 2 or more creatures this turn. Oh, heebie-jeebies.
And it adds a white.
Yeah. That's the irrelevant part. It's a land. Does the thing. But what does it do? It draws you cards when you attack with 2 or more creatures. Let's go, Boros. This card is fantastic. Draws you a card anytime you attack with 2 for a cheap rate. And it won't be hard for this to come into play untapped, so you're very not likely to get punished with this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, this card's great.
This is the best land I have seen in a very long time. I mean, I just want to give it a 4 because I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I think I still probably have it at 3/5, but it's very good.
The Mines of Moria. Mines of Moria enter the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. It adds a red if you tap it. Pay 4, tap, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, create 2 treasure tokens. That is not a hard ask. Paying 4 means that you don't have anything else better to be doing with 4, which means I don't really care that much about the treasures. But they're, fixing purposes. This is going to be great for, sacrificing treasures. If you're Rakdos with some of that stupid bat idiot.
If you're playing my 6-bat deck.
Yeah, I can't wait for a 6-bat deck. I can't wait to kill someone with that. Although I'm also dreading dying to it, so I know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Someone's going to be playing black and they're just going to have 7 foods out and I'm just going to be like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
I was at 20. What happened?
Rating-wise, this seems okay. I think it's just like a 2/5.
Yeah, it's definitely worse than the other 2, but it's free value on a land, so can't complain.
Yeah, exactly. It is less win the game, more certain decks will help. This will help with.
Yes.
Mount Doom, tap, pay a life, add blank or blank, and you can 1 in a Rakdos. Mount Doom deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, I kind of dig that. Sacrifice Mount Doom and a legendary artifact. Choose up to 2 target creatures and destroy the rest. Activate only as a sorcery.
So I love the flavor on this card. Not so much for the deals 1 to each opponent, but the sacrifice ability, right? It's like you're sacrificing it and the ring to blow up everything except for 2 creatures, Sam and Frodo, that survived. Like everything else in Mordor died.
Yeah. It is an interesting card. 7 mana. I think I board clear attached to my land I'm here for. Especially it's kind of a one-sided board clear. It's got some ping inevitability when you've got late game, extra mana. This card seems great. It's going to win the game.
Yeah, I think this card's very good.
This is a 4.
Yep, agreed.
Riven, go ahead.
To say there's very little downside to this card. Yeah, you have to pay some life, but we always play pain lands even without abilities. So
yeah, I think that's a 4.
Yeah.
Rivendell, legendary land, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Adds blue, pay 2, scry 2, activate only if you control a legendary creature. This is probably one of the most restricting of the bunch because you have to have a legendary creature. If you can't keep one on the battlefield, then you're sad. But I don't think that's going to be too bad with the ring tempts you stuff. So my biggest excitement for this is, unlike some of the other ones that are just very good, this one by itself is less good, but better for synergy enabling things for the Simic deck.
It's definitely better for synergy. I think it's pretty good on its own. I mean, Scry 2 late game is similar value to draw a card.
Yes.
So, yeah, it is more restrictive. So I agree. It's not as good as the white one.
Yes.
But I think it's on
I still
par
think it's very good.
Yeah, I think it's on par with like Minds of Moria. Better effect, but more restrictive.
Oh, I think it's better than Minds of Moria.
Yeah.
Okay. I think white is best outside of for just this like monocolor one.
Yeah, this cycle. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've seen what, 3 so far?
This is the 4th. We saw the black one was the mass one.
Oh yeah, black. So I think white is the best.
I think it's white, then black, then this, then red.
Yeah, it's kind of close. I think this might be closer to the black rate. Like I kind of like these two kind of tied for 2nd and 3rd.
Sure.
Black might be a little bit better. I think you might be right there. And then the green one,
which we haven't seen yet.
So rating wise, I think this is very good. I think this is a 3.5.
Yeah, I've got a 3.5 sounds good.
The Shire enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary creature. Add a forest. Tap an untapped creature you control. Create a food. This is
low impact, but easy to do.
Yeah, easy to do. And I think I like the foods more than I like the treasures.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I would like the treasures more if they were easier to do, but I feel like once you get 5 mana, because it was 4 mana and tap, right?
Yes.
So 5 mana, like, and a turn 5 to do nothing. Like, I'm low on cards, whatever. Like, it's good for fixing, but I feel like at 5 mana and nothing to do on turn with 5 mana means I don't give a shit about treasures, and there are no creatures that really synergize with treasures in the same way that there are with food tokens.
Agreed.
So I think that this is a good payoff enabler and does a lot of stuff. It is one of the lower impact of the bunch, but I think it is more powerful in the set than the treasures, which feels really weird to say. But
I agree.
Here we are. So yeah, I think this card is very good. I think it is a 3 because it is low impact, but it is one of the highest synergy enablers with the blue.
Yep, I've got it as a 3 as well.
All right. Shire Terrace. Add a tap to add a colorless. You can pay 1, sacrifice it, search your library for basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped, and shuffle. Oh, this is just straight up better Evolving Wilds? No, you have to pay 1 to tap it.
It's worse, arguably early game, but better like mid game, so you don't miss a land drop.
Yeah, and it doesn't come into play tapped or
tapped.
anything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, this doesn't, but the land does.
So you can use it, is what I mean. Like if you you're just like, oh, I really need my 4th land. Evolving Wilds off the top. Oh, this feels like trash. And no, you can just play your thing that you want, and next turn you can then take the time off to get the thing that you want.
Exactly.
Cool. So I think Evolving Wilds is always good, and I like the flexibility on this. I think Evolving Wilds is always at least a 2/5.
Yeah, it's like a 2/5.
Yeah, I'm happy to play one Evolving Wilds in both decks, even if I'm not 3 colors.
Agreed.
All right, guys, that is the end of our colorless set review. If you guys are seeing this, make sure you guys go check out the rest of our colors. They're all up already, and multicolor is the very last one that you have to look forward to. And chances are it's already up. Don't forget to leave us a comment down below and let us know what you guys thought of all of the colorless cards in the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set, and what you think about the rest of the set. Thank you guys so much for watching. Yanks, thanks for joining us.
Anytime.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye. I'd like to end this video with a special thank you to those of you guys who have signed up for my Patreon. Without my wonderful patrons, none of this content would be possible. If you'd like to support this content and get your name up on the Wall of Fame, you can sign up for our Patreon by using the link down below in the description. Another way you can support the channel is by using code MNG5 with Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find cool stuff in stock. They have everything you need for Magic, board games, and any of your other nerdy hobbies.